lived and professional experience within the maternal and mental health realm. Before we proceed, please allow me to share a bit more about myself. Hopefully, this background would give some more information and provide more relevant context to what I'm about to share next. So I'm as a practicing Muslim woman, I was, born and raised in Guinea in West Africa. And I moved to the UK as a teenager to further my studies. I have a bachelor's degree in politics, a master's of science in international development, and another MSc in accounting, finance, and management. However, since I became a mother, my focus has shifted, and I now work within the maternal and mental health realms. And that has now become my space, and I will tell you more about that later, inshallah. I like writing because I find it cathartic, and also think that sharing our stories can help bring about a kinder and more empathetic world. I have therefore published two books, Lessons from Depression and My African Childhood, Growing Up in Africa. In Guinea, sorry, growing up in Guinea, my African childhood growing up in Guinea. And I've also co-published an anthology and also some academic papers. And by the end of this year, I am intending, inshallah, to publish a book on emotional intelligence for children entitled The Big Elephant and the Little Bird, and another one on migration, race, maternal and mental health, among other topics. And this one would be entitled I Thought You Should Know. I like write poetry and also host a podcast that discusses development issues, and that's entitled Development One Topic at a Time. So my lived experience in maternal mental health and my advocacy for the same topics have led me to speak at a range of events, collaborate with many relevant organizations, and even found Canvas Bridge, which, as Dr. Hamdi just mentioned, is a UK-registered impact-focused enterprise working across the UK and Guinea and beyond as we scale. And our work focuses on advancing maternal and mental health through programs, training, advisory services, and an international conference series. Now let's focus on maternal mental health, please. The WHO defines maternal mental health as a state of well-being in which a woman realizes her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make contribution to her community. So that's seen as, that's the good side of, that's the good mental health, basically, if we can term it like that. So the one who is undergoing the opposite, a different experience, is facing maternal mental health challenges. So we can see it like that. It is really important to note, though, that before we proceed, that I'm not a clinical expert or mental health practitioner, but as Dr. Hamdi mentioned at the beginning, I'm here to share my lived experience and how that has led me to what I'm doing today. Over the years, I have understood that a person with lived experience can also define maternal mental health in their own ways. And, I look forward to sharing my story. So what we have on this slide is, we have, the cycle, basically. Someone becomes, is an expectant mother, and then there's a birthing experience, and then postpartum experience and motherhood. And maternal mental health can happen after the postpartum stage, immediately after it, a few weeks after, a few months after, even a year, or it can happen at the times at which it happens ranges and is different from mother to mother. Someone can experience emotional, well-being issues like their feelings, they're not really feeling themselves. They have, they are moody. It's difficult for them to bond with their children. There's an issue with emotional regulation. And also there's, the social well-being aspect of it, relationships, for example, they're struggling, to to cope with the added responsibility of being a mom, being a wife, being a daughter, and all those things, working within the community, living with other people. And also sometimes they have, depending on where they are, there's a lack of support network as well. And that can be an issue that really affects many mothers. And there's also the psychological well-being aspect of it, the self-perception, how they view themselves changes sometimes. Sometimes there's a lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem, different coping mechanisms, and all those things that really affect a mom. Um, Now let's move on to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier on, maternal mental health challenges, they differ from mother to mother. And we have different, there's a list of maternal mental health challenges here, but I should say that they are not, this list is not really exhaustive. Postpartum depression, anxiety, emotional exhaustion, loneliness sometimes is viewed on its own as, a mental health challenge. There's perinatal grief. Some women, sometimes their children die during birth or before, and, there's that as well. And the psychosis, when the depression becomes, takes on a whole new level. People are hallucinating, and different aspects of it. And I would say that perhaps my own experience is somewhere between, so it was postpartum depression, but the more I talk about it, the more I hear other people, sharing their views and learning more about it, the more I think that there were elements of psychosis and also anxiety in it. Because as you will know, when as I continue to share, it was very difficult for me to seek help, let alone, even talk about it to even, other people around me. So as I mentioned in Lessons on Depression, so that's my first book on mental health, it's important to stress that this is not a white person's illness. Sometimes that's what we think, oh no, it's just for the, people who are on the other side of the world. It's for Europeans, it's for Americans, it's not for Africans, it's not for people in developing countries, because mental health is for the so-called rich, the privileged, the people with different skin colors. But no, mental health challenges do not discriminate. They can affect anyone. And the person going through it is already suffering internally. They are battling with themselves. Literally, there's that internal struggle that you yourself, you don't understand. You don't know what's going on. So they really need support and psychologically safe spaces to express themselves and share their feelings. We need to be careful not to judge, but really try to understand them and help them get the support that they need. And, sometimes this can be, in a form of just resting, having a sleep, a very, very, like, which is really important. Sleep is important. And unfortunately, sometimes you sacrifice sleep a lot. And when you become a mom, there's that, there's a long list of responsibilities that you have to face. And sometimes it's difficult to get enough sleep. So, having enough sleep and, help can also take the form of practical help, like aiding them with cooking, with cleaning and looking after their children, seeking medical help, going to parks, etc., etc. We have to make sure that it's bespoke so that it really reflects what they really need. We listen to them and help them get the support that they need. Even if we are not medical, professionals, we can help them go and get, medical help, get the support that they need. If it's medical, if it's social, any type of support. But being there to listen is very important. Also stigmatizing people who are going through mental health challenges and encouraging them to be silent does not really help, because they are not being capricious. It's not a choice. It's not like someone is choosing to just, get up one day and say, yeah, I just want to have mental health issues today, because I can have them. No, it's a serious illness. It's, they're suffering, they're ill. And since we take physical illnesses seriously, we also need to take, to give mental health issues the same or even more attention, because of its hidden nature at times. Sometimes someone can have mental health issues and they are not even aware that they are going through them, let alone the people who are around them. So, if we are really striving for equitable care, we need to listen to one another and make sure that help is available without judgments when needed. And I mean, Dr. Hamdi Isa just mentioned here that, it's still taboo in the part of the world where she's in at the moment, in Somaliland. And I would say it's the same as well in Guinea, where I come from. Although people are starting to talk about it a lot more than they used to, it is taboo, and even taboo here in the UK in some cultures. So, for some reason, mental health and physical health are not really viewed the same way. They're not given the attention, the respective attention that they deserve, and that needs to change. That they deserve. Um, and which brings me on to the next talk here, the next slide about culture and tabooness and when taboo subjects and traditions. Our cultures, our traditions, our experiences, they shape who we are, and our communities have been founded really, I believe, on the premise that it's okay to care for one another. However, we need to be careful to check whether we're not moving away from that at times. We need to be careful to not set rigid expectations of perfectionism and expect people to always be strong and not make mistakes, because only God is perfect. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. And with that being said, we need to remind ourselves actively of our vulnerable nature and embrace our vulnerabilities. um, Someone who is in distress is not making things up. They are not, seeking attention just to upset people. They are asking for help, whether they verbalize it or not. And that's what I just said. Sometimes I go in through it, I don't even know it's happening. And we need to ensure that we have systems in place, systems and processes in place to support people who are going through tough times. So really, keeping our cultures, keeping our traditions, and but in a way that we keep what works, and what doesn't work, we sit down, we review it, and think about whether we do injustice to our own societies, and not really judge people just because they are ill. And now, this is the next slide here. I'll talk about my own lived experience, because lived experience matters. I went from thinking that I was strong, a very strong Black woman, because that's what we are taught in our cultures, strong Black woman. I thought that I could handle my life without help from others. I thought that, going through one, like I could just do anything on my own, I thought, without the need to ask for help, because you have to be self-sufficient, otherwise it's not good, right? That's the belief that we had. And I went from that to going through one of the most difficult chapters of my life, and to be here today and just being able to actually speak about it, talk to you about it, is actually amazing, because at that time I could not even accept it myself. I experienced postpartum depression and I couldn't even name it, because I come from a culture where we don't even acknowledge it, let alone, talk about it. So I don't think I was equipped with the skills and the tools needed to cope. And because to us, that the way we saw it is, until you start going out and screaming and pulling your hair, until they start calling you crazy, you don't have any mental health issues, because that's how it's seen. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And the worst part was having to ask for help, because I am a Fulani. So the Fulani people, they roam around almost all parts of Africa, and the concepts of modesty, shyness, and reservedness are so ingrained in the culture that I felt that I would literally be betraying anyone, or become too audacious to, and even abnormal if I asked for help. And I felt I was, disobeying elders and straying away from, the unwritten rules. And I felt so lost, that I found myself crying endlessly at times, not even knowing what was going through, what was happening, what I was going through. I also learned about the concept of waswas, whispering from shaitan, as people said that I was probably suffering from that. I had not come upon that term, before, but then people started saying that, and I do not in any way discount that, it might have been an element because, I'm a practicing Muslim. But what I want to emphasize on is that we do not downplay the clinical aspect of it, the need for medical care, the need for actually seeking professional help, and professional can mean many different things. But I also ultimately acknowledge and accepted my depression, knowing that okay, I do need to do my afkars, I need to keep reading the Quran more, but I also need to speak to people who studied about mental health, and who could give me the support that I needed. Although I was so scared, and scared of being given, for example, tablets or medicine that would perhaps give me side effects that I did not want. Also scared that I would go there and perhaps be sectioned. And I was scared also of losing my children, because I was thinking, if I do that, if I tell them exactly how I felt, they would take my children away. So that's how I felt at that time. And so I actually never went to the doctor to say, please, I need help. But I'm really grateful that I had people around me who told me, okay, there's a self-referral, forum that you could go. And I went and I attended, a meeting where there were other people who were also talking about their mental health. And I attended one session, and then I paid for private sessions where I, go one-on-one and speak to someone. And there were times when I just said, I'm just paying someone to listen to me. And then I realized actually that was the whole point, someone who would understand. So really, alhamdulillah, that was acknowledging my depression, by the grace of Allah, was the beginning of the healing journey. And I'm so grateful to Allah Azza wa Jalla and to the whole community for that. Struggling with mental health doesn't mean that a believing person needs to be judged as faithless. Quite the contrary, because I've heard some people being judged as such, and we're not normally the judges. We shouldn't judge anyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who judges. God judges, not us. So people who are going through mental health issues, they need to be listened to and helped, because they're going through an internal struggle and they need help. So my lived experience had led me to change my career by working. Now I work. I work with local, national, international. Local, national, international levels in, the hope to improve maternal and mental health in the UK and in other parts of the world. So yes, lived experience really matters, and we need to let our humanness shine, and ask others how they are feeling, because it's not always easy to say, I need help. So now, seeking help and finding hope, there are so many different ways of doing that. As I said, my faith, being a Muslim, really helped me, because, it allowed me to reconnect more with, my Lord, alhamdulillah. Also, some people also, there's also the community, there were so many people that I didn't know that were around, who all of the sudden started helping me, people that I had never met. People would call me and say, okay, my mom has cooked for you, come and eat. And for me, as a Fulani, this is like, oh, this is not only I don't seek help, but actually going and into people's houses, and, actually it's too much. But, I, I saw the kindness in people. I saw the power of humanness. I saw, like how beautiful it is when everyone helps each other, and it's beautiful. And there's also therapy that, you can seek help through therapy. There's, self-compassion, which is one of the main things here. because you have to be kind to yourself. You have to recognize that it's not your fault that you're feeling like that. If your tooth is hurting you, if your head is hurting you, it's not your fault. It's the same as mental health issues. It's not your fault. You are ill, you need help. Um, it's not that you are weak. It's okay even to be weak. It's okay to be vulnerable, because we need to embrace that sides of ourselves, the vulnerability within ourselves. That's what makes us human. We are not, we are human beings. We are fallible. We are weak sometimes, and other times we want to be strong. It's okay to get that balance. Professional support, as I said, really helps, and having hope, being hopeful, looking forward to the next day, looking forward to the next hour, to the next minute, to the next second. Just being hopeful that, you'll get through it. Not trying to, take a whole mountain at a time, but just one step at a time, living like that, incrementally. And also, as I said in my book, seeing it as a gift, as an opportunity for you to review everything you've been doing so far, hit her, and then change. Maybe this is here to make you, to help you acknowledge that you are not perfect, that you need to change. Or maybe you need more help, or maybe you were studying this, you need to change, or maybe you were making a mistake here, you need to, change course. All of those things, it's a growth opportunity if you see it like that. Um, okay. And this slide says it's okay to not be okay. And we hear that a lot these days. And I'm really grateful that people actually say that, because it's okay not to be okay, literally. Always smiling, putting on, a front and just a mask, pretending that everything is fine. That's just us actually performing and acting. That's not who we are as human beings. There are times when we are healthy, other times we are not. There are times when, we need help, other times we don't need help. And it's okay, to acknowledge that. Acknowledging pain is not weakness. You know, it's actually the first step towards, healing. Faith and mental health, I've touched upon it a little bit. I'll just mention a few or more, elements of it now, because, mental illness is not really lack of faith, as I said early on. Seeking help is not spiritual failure. I think it's quite the opposite. As people with faith, as human beings, we need to seek help, because our body has been, loaned to us. We it doesn't belong to us, so we need to look after it, right? It's a manna. So when you are ill, you do need to look for support, for help. And again, try our best as, people who observe other people going through mental health issues. Please be compassionate. Let's be compassionate. Let's not judge people. Let's do our best to help them. Trying to help people is a good thing to do. And also, I came across something called scrupulosity as I was, going through. I was writing my book on mental health and, working in the field, and I realized that actually this is a religious aspect of it that is sometimes not considered when we are trying to implement systems and processes. So it's really important not to downplay, like if someone comes, for example, and say, I feel like I need to pray more. I feel like if I don't pray more, something is going to happen to me. I feel if they feel like they have to exaggerate, the deen or any other religious aspect, from any other religion, then, it's okay. It's important not to discount it, but to listen to them and to help them in any way that we can help. OCD is linked to that as well at times. So it's a compulsive disorder when someone does some things, obsessively. That's also something that we need to take into account. And as I said, communities, living with people, having a strong support network really helps. Um, Apart from what I mentioned so far, what has depression really taught me? This is the first book, Lessons on Depression. And one of the things that I've learned is that it's not your fault, as I said earlier. The second thing is that it's a gift. For me, I saw it as a gift because it completely changed my career, completely changed the way I view things. Now, I accept my vulnerabilities. I accept that I am not perfect. So I think I'm kinder to myself. Before, I thought doing that was selfish. I thought that if I looked after myself and not prioritize others, it would be selfish. But I realized that it was selfish not to look after myself, because when I didn't, then everyone had to leave everything they were doing there to look after me. So actually, you have to find the right balance. It's not selfish to look after yourself. You can look after yourself and look after others at the same time. It's okay to be weak, you know. And the other thing was that it's not an illness for other people. It does not discriminate, and healing is not linear. Someone can just heal by taking maybe a week off and just relaxing. For other people, it can be completely different. Maybe they need medication, or they need talking therapy, or they need to find, for example, different ways of healing through art, storytelling, which are things that we include in Canvas Bridge. And for me also writing became, survival, because it's cathartic. The more I wrote, the more I felt like the weight was, diminishing. I was slowly and surely finding my way again and my faith. And I wrote with a purpose, because I wrote thinking that yes, this is also going to help others. And I think that is that's a very important element of it as well. So really trying to just turn pain into purpose. What do I do now? As I said before, I do work, with academic organization institutions in the fields of maternal and mental health, and also leadership in terms of lived experience, PPIE, so patient, public, and involvement and engagement. I advocate for better maternal and mental health systems and services, and care. And as I said, now I write a lot more. I've found the poetic side of myself now, and more confident to share my thoughts, and building a bigger community with Canvas Bridge, and also speaking opportunities to share what I've been through, and also what I am working on through, for example, these invitations like this one. And thank you again for inviting me. So supporting mothers, to be the better version of themselves is really important, because first of all, we have to believe them. We have to believe what they're telling us. We have to believe a mom if she says, "I'm sorry, I feel like I'm not bonding with my child. I'm sorry, I feel like I don't love my child." The love is there, the bond is there, but they just don't feel it. It's an illness. We need to understand them. We need to listen without judgment. Even if you don't understand, just being there to listen to them, so that they are not carried away with dark thoughts, because that's very, very dangerous. So it's important for us to listen, and also connecting with the community. I cannot emphasize this enough. We need that strong network, and a network of people who are actually there to help, not people who judge, but people who create that psychological safety that enables someone to be brave and bold enough to say, "Excuse me, please, I need help. Can you please help me? Or can you please listen to what I have to tell you? I'm not sure about myself today. I don't feel like myself anymore. There are thoughts going through my head. I don't know what's happening." Or maybe different forms of, mental health issues that they're going through, but, just being there to listen, and offer support if we can. And for organizations, for countries, for, services, ensure that support is available and accessible, and that, as Dr. Hamdi mentioned at the beginning, because that's the key of what I do, is that really try to ensure that when we building those services, making them, producing, that we co-produce with people with lived experience, because they've been there, they've been through it, they know what's happening, they know where the need is, where the gaps are, and working with them, collaborating with them in an equitable way to try and change things. That's the way forward, ensuring that practices are trauma informed. All of those issues are, I think, the way to go. And again, in terms of systems change, We have, policymakers here, community organizations, experts by experience, who are also called, PPI members, so patient public involvement and engagement members, researchers, healthcare providers, and again, policymakers twice here because it's very important. Sometimes policies are made and they don't even reflect the need or aspiration, the needs or aspirations of the people who actually are going to use the services. And also, there's one element that's missing here, but I'll need to say it, is that we do not forget about social determinants of health, because there are all other issues, economic, social factors, political factors that affect someone. So now let's talk about the women and the agency, the ability to be themselves. By autonomy here, I don't mean completely just thinking that I can do it all by myself, but no, recognizing our strengths and also our vulnerabilities, but being able to make, informed decisions, being able to use our voice, our voices to change things, to amplify the voices of others also, and, change the maternal and mental health landscape. Um, you know, Again, those informed decisions mean that, first of all, we need to get information. So, trying to educate ourselves, trying to find out what's happening, learning more. And also, when we're helping women, it's also important to ensure that they keep their dignity, because no human being wants to lose that. So, listening with respect, with care, with empathy, really emotional intelligence is the key here, and participation with care. Almost done, you'll be glad to know. Just some reflective questions here. What does maternal mental health mean in your community? I just want you to think about these questions. After this talk, next week, next month, next year, I just want those questions to still echo in your head. Just think about those, because they might, bring about ideas that perhaps we have not thought of. How do we create safe spaces for women to speak? And by that also needs to be contextualized. The way we do it for someone in London will be completely different to someone in Guinea, so completely in Conakry, completely different to someone in Hargeisa, completely different, to someone in any other part of the world. What role do professionals play in listening? What is listening actually? Because listening is not just hearing noise, it's actually actively listening. Are we training people to listen? Do they know what listening is about? That's also something that we need to take into consideration. What would truly be supportive? What would truly supportive care look like? What would help the woman, or the women who are seeking help? What do we need? What is missing? What do we have at the moment? Who is missing? Who is at the table? How are we having those conversations? We need to think about that. And lastly, how can we challenge stigma without causing harm? How can we do that? Because we have to understand that people who actually also, stigmatize others, they don't do that, I hope, not all the time at least, just because they want to be mean. It's because sometimes it comes from, unconscious bias. It comes from assumptions that we don't even consider. And, sometimes think that our cultures are the best, our traditions are the best. It's good to be proud of our cultures, our traditions, things that we do. But to what extent, are we maybe not causing harm to ourselves, to some of the practices that we actually do have in our societies? How can we ensure that they are in line with our principles, but at the same time relevant to the time that we live in now, and how can we go forward, basically? So, hope and healing. As I said, hope is really important when you're going through mental health, which is that that's one of the most important things. Just looking at the tunnel and seeing your exit through it. Just thinking about it, seeing something positive. Saying, I'll get through this, inshallah. Tomorrow will be better, inshallah. Don't, being really kind to ourselves is very important. So I want people to remember that healing is possible, that community is actually medicine, that we need strong supportive networks. And also, I want people to know that their stories matter. Your story matters. Your story, do not downplay, do not there's no such thing as, maybe mine is not okay, but the other person's story is better than mine. Every single story matters, and I think the more we share our stories, the more we learn from each other, and the more we learn from each other, the more, inshallah, this world will be more beautiful. Because then there's so much misunderstanding in this world, that if we try and change that, maybe that's the key to going forward. Our humanness is one of our greatest assets, and I really, encourage you all to remember this sentence, and to, put this forward into anything that you're doing, because that's who we are. We are human beings. And with that, I would like to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. And, I look forward to taking any questions that you may have.